Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Flat Out in association once again with Opulence Thoroughbreds. Myself alongside Joey Laver and Jack Nicol, as ever, to discuss all the big races in flat racing. And there's some really good action in both England and Ireland. Obviously, the CORAL-ECLIPSE is the big race at Sandown in our country, and a Group 1 over a mile, of course, to look forward to on Saturday. And we've also got the Prix Jean Prat over in France to enjoy a little bit later on. We'll talk about that in due course, but let's start off with our best bets for the weekend. Jack, come to you first, because this weekend's contests at both Haydock and indeed at Sandown are really something to look forward to, I would say.
Yeah, very much so. I'm really looking forward to the weekend's action. I'm actually going to make my first ever visit to Sandown on Saturday, so really looking forward to that. It's been.
I can't believe you've never been, actually. I was quite surprised you told me that.
Well, yeah, as you know, I'm a lad from the northeast, so chances to get down to Esher aren't readily available. To be fair, I did make it to Kempton one year. That was mainly because my brother was riding. But yeah, chances to go to Sandown. I've been in London for around a year and a half now, so yeah, it's time to go. I was trying to get to the Live Golf on Saturday, but I'm now going Friday, which has opened up this opportunity. And what a card it is! I've already been making prep to go through the whole card, and I actually have like 2 or 3 really strong fancies on the card, so I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, the Eclipse, we'll probably get onto that in greater depth a little bit later on. But in terms of a best bet on the card, I would go for the 450 on Saturday, a horse called New Business. As we know, he was very well punted for the Wood Ditton on debut, went off real short. He was beaten by, obviously, we know it was a good field, but I just don't think a mile is his trip. He was too keen next time out at York again. That was a proper race with Mostahdaf. Then last time out at Kempton, the penny really dropped for him. We can see here that was over 7. To be fair, he got an easy lead. Again, it was a drop in class though as well, and he was entitled to win. But he did so in a time that was almost identical to New Endeavour. New Endeavour, we know, has come second in the Britannia since. He's now rated 103. New Business is running here at Sandown off a mark of 87. And while you can't obviously compare different races, different setups, but I think it just shows that I think New Business has quite a bit in hand, and Sandown is such a pace-favouring track as well. I would like to see the race probably a bit more in depth before having a proper go. Obviously, there's no markets yet, but I could see him just maybe being tough to peg back if he's the obvious pace angle as well. And yeah, I think he's got a real bit in hand off 87, and he would be the very best bet this weekend for me. Very
nice, Jack. And Joey, what would your best bet of the weekend be as it stands?
It's a tricky one because my biggest fancy, you never like these, but double-entered horses. I really think, I put him up in the Royal Ascot preview. I think Perotto's got a big day still this year. I think Ascot, he did far too much. It was one of those rides where you almost feel like your jockey has seen how strong their horse is in the market and just is a little bit too aggressive. He got a quite fierce. He was right at the front under David Egan. He was probably just doing a little bit too much, and he's faded out of it late. And on his side, Sonny Liston's come from behind him and powered through to obviously win his side, but very comfortably. And Jimi Hendrix on the far side. It was one of those odd straight course races that got blown apart. I think he'd be one I'd definitely be giving another chance to. He's been dropped another couple of pounds in the weights, eased a bit. He still remains very dangerous, I think, and that would be in the 225 at Sandown, where he's priced up 11-1. But then you always have a worry with these horses that double entered. He's also in at Haydock in the 425 over 7. Very similar races, obviously attracting very similar types of horses. So you have to wait till tomorrow afternoon really to see where you want to be playing. But he'd be the horse I'd be most interested in for the weekend.
Okay, very interesting stuff. That, yeah, I'm a big fan of Perotto actually on the weekend as well. I'm going to go with my best bet.
What did you think, Tom? What did you think of his performance at Ascot?
Completely and totally agree with you. I think that's exactly what it was. He did too much too soon. At one point, I thought he was going to be banged there at the finish, and then he just faded quite dramatically. Not had long with Roger Varian, and hopefully there's more to come from him. And he's also been dropped a couple of pounds in the handicap. So for me, I think he's got to have a big chance. And I think you're absolutely right. There is a big day in him, and it could well come here. So I'd be keen on him as well, I have to say. And I think he's a decent price. So he's about, he says, 10, 11 to 1, something like that at the moment.
10, 11 to 1-ish around that mark. And so that'd be attractive enough. You want to see him smuggled into races a bit more. And then in this particular instance, he's basically leading his side. You know, he's got space all around him. It just doesn't, it's not really optimal for him, I don't think. A horse that can drop down to 7 as well, you know, and it's up there. Yeah, that's my feeling anyway.
Yeah, I kind of hope they hold on to him a little bit long, get a bit of cover, and then come with that late run. I think that's what you need to be able to see today. I'm actually going to go to Friday at Sandown for my best bet of the weekend. And that comes in the Dragon Stakes, the 5 furlong dash for 2-year-olds, listed contest. The favourite, and taking a huge chunk out of the market at the moment, is a horse called Born to Rock for William Buick and Jane Chapel-Hyam, who's a very impressive winner on debut at Yarmouth. And I think the most interesting thing about this horse, son of Soldier's Cool, daughter of Soldier's Cool, I should say, is that she skipped the Queen Mary and it's coming to Sandown instead. Now, she's got to have a massive chance. And I know that after one of Jane's won at Newmarket, it was just before Born to Rock had run at Yarmouth. I did actually speak to her and she said, make sure you watch out next week because they've got a very good 2-year-old running at Yarmouth. And she duly won by 4 1/4 lengths, beating 11 rivals in very impressive fashion. So she's clearly very talented, is Born to Rock. But I think one who could equally or even be more talented than her is a horse called Nazalan, who is running here for Tom Marquand and Sean Woods. Sean having a nice season so far. He's just starting to really pick it up. He's been here for a couple of campaigns now. It took him a while to get settled. He's come from Hong Kong, made a lot of money down there, winning plenty of races, and bought Shalfleet from Jeremy DeZida. And it's just taken him a little bit of time to get going, but now he is. And we're starting to see, you know, that success that he produced in Hong Kong emulated over here. Nazalan was a winner on his second start that came, luckily, over 5 furlongs at Sandown. Now, it wouldn't be the most normal track in the world for 5 furlongs, would it, Sandown? But Nazalan took to it like a duck to water last time, making all and looking like an old hand on the track. And he beat Not Another for Richard Hannon, who has since gone on to score as well. So the form looks pretty strong. And the 6th that day was a horse called Marker Cole for Roger Ver, and you might have seen absolutely bolt up at Newcastle a few days ago. So I think it's really strong form, and Nazalan is now raised in grade. He's got one more start than Born to Rock, so that little bit extra bit of experience, and the fact that he handles the track as well, I think is a big plus. And if he can get that quick break, get that early lead again, I think he'd be very hard to beat. So he'd be my best bet, I think, of the weekend at the moment. And you get a bit of value as well. He's around about 6 to 1, as I say, because Born to Rock is taking so much out of the market. And the second favourite at the moment is a horse called Kylian, who won a pretty weak novice at Newcastle last time. I know,
yeah, I've spotted my chance here and I'm going to take it. Which horse was it? What was this called there, Tom?
Kylian. Yeah.
You mean Killian?
Killian.
As in Kylian Mbappe.
There you go. Shows you I'm not a massive football fan, doesn't it?
Yes.
Kylian Mbappe.
I've been waiting for this moment.
But yeah, the novice that he won last time at Newcastle wasn't strong at all, and I think he's there for the taking. Although Ryan Moore, of course, is up, which is a problem. But I think Nazalan is going to be a solid proposition at that price as well. Jack, what else for the weekend for you?
Yeah, so quite a few. I'm going to come back to the Coral Challenge, and I'm going to challenge Joey with Uzo, who he was unlucky in this race last year. We can see here he's there on the rail in about 3rd, the gold colours with the black cap. He's just kind of getting into top gear, and he's just stopped all momentum here. You see Sinjari in the red and white going on. He's the eventual winner. A very good horse and Check and Challenge coming from off the pace. But Uzo's only really getting out now, and yeah, he finished with a rattle. I think he was real unlucky this day. I imagine that Connections have had this in mind for the whole season. He's off the same mark. He's been out in Maidan and he's really held his form throughout that time. He was 2nd and 3rd out there. And he was a very good 6th in the Royal Hunt Cup. And yeah, he's just really holding his form. Same mark this year. One thing I would say is the Osborne stable have been really, really quiet through June. They were 1 winner from 34 runners. They've made a flying start to July so far. The stable form's 1, 2, 3, 2. This is with a couple outsiders. I think they had one second today at 12 to 1. So it's not as if they've all been short prices either. And I just think Uzo's a real interesting one here. since the market went up, he's 14s into a best price of 9s now. I'm annoyed because I didn't take any of that, so I've got on at 9s today. What you hope for now is not like a very wide draw, but I think he's quite tractable in where you put him in the race as well. Safi, it's her ride. She knows him so well. And I think he's a very solid chance here. And I think he could have just been a bit of a plot for this. Gun.
You have to go back to 2020 to his last win, though, don't you? I mean,
for sure.
He just loves not winning. He's slowly coming back down to that mark. You know, it's taking him time. I think he's got a couple of pounds to go back down to his last win.
Yeah, for sure. But look,
he loves finding a problem.
We'll see. I do recall you challenging me on Mostahdaf the last time in the Royal Ascot preview. He went and won at 25. I didn't back him.
Steady now, son. There's nothing. I did not. I questioned your logic of backing him each way, which I always do. I never said anything about it.
No, I didn't make it clear. 3 places.
And I said mathematically, I still stand by this. It's a terrible each way bet. It's a good win only bet. It makes
it's a 25 to 1 winner is what it was, but you know.
As a win only bet, it doesn't make any sense. Even now, you can shout about it now. It's not. It was never an each way bet.
Your logic is completely flawed there, Joey. I'm sorry.
It's not flawed at all. There's just no sanity to it. If you've got horses rated almost the same above you, you've got these about 4 of them all going.
Yeah, but he's rated 128.
You'll have. Exactly, but you're having a chancer at it. It makes much more sense.
Wasn't a chance. I made the case quite clear.
You said he might sneak into the places. That's what you said. That was your argument.
I gave him a good chance.
Sneak into third.
I think I need to get my referee's jacket on to split this one
out. Sneaking into the places.
Well, look, 25 to 1 winner. Hopefully, some of the viewers got on, but. Maybe they can put them in the comments. Moving swiftly on. I think
hopefully they did it intelligently and backed him win only and had all their stake on that.
Moving on to the Old Newton Cup, Tom. I've got one at a bit of a price. And I'm going to have a swing at this as I did Mostahdaf. But One Smooth Operator. You caught the eye last time.
You didn't, did you?
Pardon?
I thought you said you didn't back him.
No, but I'm going to have a swing at this one. He was awkward out. It was a modest pace. He stuck on quite well and he was just never really involved. He's £5 better off with Cumulonimbus this time. Look at their price disparity here, and it just doesn't make sense to me. And I think this test could really suit One Smooth Operator. Mile and fourth, a real good gallop coming through rivals. And I think he's dangerous from a mark of 92. He's probably overlooked, but he's not fashionable, is it? It's Ben Robinson for Brian Ellison. And I just think at 20 to 1 each way, he makes quite a bit of appeal for me. And I've already had a go at him for that. And yeah, look, I don't think there's too much to dislike about him. Certainly on that last run, it was good on the times as well. And as I say, I think there's a little bit of juice left on that mark of 92.
Okay, lovely stuff, Jack. I'm going to take you on actually in that race. I have to say, not with it wouldn't be the strongest fancy in the world, but I think he's a good each way price, and that's Yukon Glen, the old boy. His fourth last time. Anyone who watched that race would have known he was on the wrong side.
Stinky old runner, wasn't it, Tom?
Oh, it's just Paul Mulroney was very clever, taking him all the way to the other side of air on the far side, and he ran a massive race to be fourth. To be fair, and he's off the same mark here. He's well below his last winning mark, or at least his highest rated mark, and he's well treated, well handicapped. This looks like the perfect test for him. And he's coming into this in the right vein of form. I think 20 to 1 is big about him. There's not a chance as well. I know people are going to say this. Well, he's 10 years old. He's taking on these youngsters, loads of 4 and 5 year olds in this race. Yes, there are, but he's almost as good as he was. I think there's very little, between his form now than there was, 3 or 4 years ago. So I'd be keen to take him on. He's become nicely handicapped. Joey, anything else?
We'll be having a 3-way go at that one.
Nice.
I really like sheer rocks, so good luck to you viewers out there. You've learned really nothing on what you should be doing for this. You've got 3 different horses to be backing.
Well, I would add a bit of weight there to Yukon Glen. What a wonderful horse he is to come back from a serious injury like a tendon. They never really come back better than they are. And if anything, he's been better. And what a job Goldie's done with him. You just have to look back last year, Tom, even in the Ebo, travelling in last on the bridle and finished full of running. So I'd imagine Goldie actually said today after he had a couple of winners at Mostahdaf, this has been the target for Yukon Glen, so you can gain confidence from that. He's probably slipped down to a low enough mark that won't get him back into the Evo, so he probably does need to run well. I'd say that would be his main season goal, to go back to York. So I could see the old boy bouncing back, and I certainly wouldn't be against that shout there at all.
Yeah, and Goldie had 3 winners, as you say, at Mostahdaf tonight, and he also had a couple at Hamilton as well, so he's in good form. Go on, Joe.
Yeah, so basically, I just fancy Shiraz. It's like you. It's not one of my stronger fancies. I think Gelding's obviously made this horse. He won at Epsom last time with bucket loads in hand. I think it's an obvious next step to come and take this on. Bucket loads of improvement. I love the way he went through the race, and he was just eased down at the line and still won perfectly easily from some decent level horses. So yeah, he's one I really like.
Yeah, and Keys Chorister was a bit of a course specialist.
a proper course specialist. She always runs well, doesn't she? And so I thought it was pretty impressive to run her down and just basically be pulled up the last final 100 yards and just trot in over the line and win easy. So yeah, probably saved a few pounds off potentially.
Let's go CORAL-ECLIPSE time. Big race on Saturday. Paddington against Emily Upjohn, 2 towards the top of the market. Anne Mart, Dubai Honour, Luxembourg, and West Wind Blows are the others in the field. And I suppose the appearance of Paddington in the race, Joey, makes it a pretty mouth-watering contest.
It certainly does. It's a very tricky race for us to preview with strong betting opinions based on, I don't know. In terms of coming back from work on Tuesday night, it was the heavens open, didn't we? Had a hell of a shower around the kind of South London area. That copped a fair amount of water, did Sandown, really, but it seems like it's going to warm up considerably. So I don't know what you guys thought. Do you think were we working on the basis of probably good ground? What said good?
I'd say it might be on the shade of quicker.
Good to firm. Yeah.
It's
warming up properly, isn't it?
I think we're due a bit more rain tomorrow, as far as I'm aware. At the time of recording, that would be on Thursday. So if that does come, then I think Friday and Saturday are due to be warm. So I reckon we're probably going to be looking at good ground, personally.
Because he's watering as well, isn't he, Cooper? He's watering.
Yeah, it remains to be seen how much he's put on.
Surely he can't water after this rain this week. Madness.
You'd hope not, wouldn't you? We'll see. I
think it is. I'm pretty sure it is happening. They're considering. Look, we need to. We'll see. We'll see what we get to. But I imagine it's going to be good to firm in places, something like that. Wouldn't you suggest? To be fair.
That'd be great if it was. Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard to because you've got a horse. I adore Anne Mart. But if it's getting that way, Owen Burrows has been pretty strong on the fact that this horse really does want a bit of juice in the ground. With Luxembourg's likely not to run. Is that what we're feeling at the moment? And then so we're going to be down. You do find it a bit. I do find these field sizes a little bit disappointing for all it is a very high quality field. And then we got a mouth-watering clash of Paddington and Emily Upjohn at the top of the market. I probably, if you pushed me, would be siding with Paddington. But I don't know, Jack. Where are you on this race?
Well, I think it's important, as you say, to note that it doesn't look likely that Luxembourg is going to run. He was a possible pace angle, so for me, it looks like West Wind Blows is now going to make the run-in, which is interesting to note. I wouldn't put him out of this. I must be honest. He is a proper 10 furlong horse. I mentioned that the last time in the Hardwick that. Well, I think I possibly tweeted it. It just since he's been gelded, it probably gives him the chance to stay that. But this horse is now 10 furlong horse. Problem is he good enough? He's got masses to find it. I suppose this is a bit of a Mostahdaf shout. I'm not going to back him. I might have a little bit on the exchange or something on the day, but I think he could just set the race open. I think, as you say, Joey, that Anmat could just be the one, particularly if it's not on the rattling side. I really do like him. He's just done nothing but improve since he came back in the John Smith's Cup. He has a little bit of a form line there with West Wind Blows in the pre-dollar last year. Yep. Anmat won then. I think you could probably give the benefit of the doubt to West Wind Blows. It was the end of the season. He's probably just over the top, having already travelled over to France. But look, Emily Upjohn, she did take me by surprise at Epsom. I'd say she probably was fitter than Connections thought she was, but it was just a remarkable performance. That turn of foot was pretty good. And Paddington, I don't know about Paddington. He has a funny head carriage. It's just hard to kind of warm to him, but I do like Chaldean, as we all know, and he fairly dispatched of him. Probably he didn't get the optimal race and probably had to make the running, but it's a fascinating matchup. At the moment, I probably would be a backer of Anmat. I think he is probably being, he's not the most fashionable. He hasn't quite put up that star performance, but I think he won despite conditions in the Dispahan. I know Owen Burrows was keen to mention how he wasn't in the ideal spot, and I just think this could set up nice and win West Wind Blows and Anmat. It just in behind, they'll probably ride him a bit more aggressively here to get that racing spot. Dubai on Emily Upjohn probably held up in Paddington somewhere in between. So I think it could just be a case that West Wind Blows might get the easy lead, and that might just give Anmat to catch them on the sly, you know. But
who's the fastest of these? Who's the fastest of these? Because this does scream potential for it to be a bit of a dawdle.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's Paddington going up and trip, Emily coming back, Anmat's at the right trip, Dubai's on at the right trip, and West Wind Blows at the right trip. So I wouldn't be surprised to have a bit of a surprise from the three behind the top two. I'm stopping short at the moment. I probably will come down on Anmat, and as I say, a very small bet on West Wind Blows. That's where I'm heading at the moment.
I've got to say, I think I'm going to probably throw the cat amongst the pigeons here a little bit, but if I was riding Emily Upjohn, I'd think seriously about going forward, or at least being in the vanguard, because she's got that proven stamina over a mile and a half. And I think if you're going to try and get Paddington beat, because I think he's probably going to be the classiest horse in the race. I've been so impressed with him so far. I think the way he won that St James's Palace was brilliant. I think she'll need to try and maybe iron out if there are any stamina doubts. There might not be. You know, he might stay absolutely fine over a strongly run mile too. But if there are any, then she could perhaps try and eke them out by doing that. And the other thing to note about her is this is the first time since her debut, when she was ridden by Rab Havlin, that Frankie Dettori is not going to be on board. And I wouldn't normally say that would be particularly important, but I think with her it might be, because she is quite a quirky individual. She's shown that in the past. She can be very keen, and she's always, well, she has been sporting the hood in the past as well. So Frankie knows her very well. William Buick, of course, is a more than capable replacement. It's just that that rapport between the two of them might just sway me a little bit towards Paddington, but that turn of foot does kind of linger in my mind. What I'm saying essentially is that I can't wait for the race, and I haven't really got a strong view on who's going to win it at all. But I think it's really interesting tactically as well.
I would think that Emily Upjohn would have a chance of winning a sprint against these. I think she doesn't lack for pace at all. Like, I think some of her sectionals really showed that last time. Really quickened. It does help. It's a track that I think really suits her. Epsom. I think she's really nicely balanced, big horse, very powerful, but she can really quicken down the hill and get going. I think that really suits her. And I think Sandown will be fine for her as well. I wouldn't be too worried about her and stamina getting involved. I would have thought Paddington wouldn't have a trouble staying the trip either. I mean, Mongeau, Dam's Ire, and then Soyuni's Isai. I mean, I think that's where your temperament potentially is coming from, Jack. That's a pretty temperament-filled pedigree that, with those two. So we'll have to see how he goes on and develops, because, there's potential for him to be quite a quirky sort. But a fascinating race, but very, very, very difficult to have much of a betting opinion on until right before the race, I think.
At the moment, who would you probably go with?
Oh, Anmat's a horse I highlighted to you last time at the start of the season, didn't I? I loved that run behind Adia, and I was very, very hot on him in France. It's just my worry would be whether the ground's going to have dried out a little bit too much for him, and a bit of a tactical fiddly race is just, I think he's
I'll be on hand at Sandown, and I'll let you know.
You let me know, son. You get your little stick out. I want to see it. I want to see some pictures, some live videos. That's what I want. That's what I want the flat out channel to be. You know, really high.
Yeah.
There was some real high quality on track reporting from Mr. Nicol.
Absolutely, we all want that. Let's talk quickly about the other Group 1 over the weekend. That's the Prix Jean Prat over 7 furlong at Deauville. Well, actually, what's that race, Jack? Sorry?
I think you mean the Prix Jean Prat, no? It's finally upon us.
The Prix Jean
so
Prat.
disappointing that Royal Scotsman wasn't entered. I mean, there's a chance he could well be supplemented with Chaldean tomorrow, but how disappointing that the one race that he was going to win this year and he's not even entered. I mean, it's a shocker.
It's. Yeah, I agree. Actually, it's a big shame. That 7 furlong trip. There are so few Group 1s over it, aren't there? And
I mean, it's just been campaigned horrifically.
I better just run through who at the time of recording has been entered. Chaldean, Meditate, High Royal, Breeze Sky, Sharon, Indestructible, Good Guess, Belbeck, and Cold Case at the moment. I'm going to quickly sum up my thoughts on the race. They wouldn't be hugely important, but what I would like to say is that depending on the ground, if there is a little bit of rain, then I think Cold Case is a big price at 14-1 because I know that connections think he is very, very good and he's capable of winning a Group 1 this season at some point. They've said that. And if you watch his race at Ascot on his reappearance, he beat none other than Bradsell, who, of course, went on to win the King's Stand. He was disappointed at Haydock, but the ground was too quick for him there. And I think he's probably needing or wanting a slightly longer trip. So 7 furlongs could be ideal for Cold Case. So I think he'd be interesting. At the moment, he's the outsider of the party, but I can see him having a big hand in proceedings if there's a little bit of rain underfoot. Joey, what do you think about the Jean Prat? Have you got any thoughts on it?
Not massively. I wanted to see Meditate drop down in trip, and she would be the one that I'd be pretty interested in. I think this sort of race would be right up her alley. So I said on the previous podcast, I think that I'll be looking for her to come down in trip, and she'll probably pick up a decent race this year, and this could be the day. But yeah, I'll chuck over to Nicol.
Yeah, what do you think, Jack?
Well, I suppose I have to have a real confident selection since it's my race, I suppose, at this point, isn't it?
Indeed.
But yeah, look, as you lads know and the viewers, I've always been a big fan of Chaldean, and he to not even enter now supplement, he must be showing something at home. You dig a little deeper into his pedigree, don't you, Joey? And it is all speed in there, and just the way that Ascot panned out from his draw, they probably had to go on, and just didn't work out. But it's always disappointing when a Guineas winner doesn't go on and kind of back that up next time. The fact that they're already coming back down from a mile would suggest that they've possibly been thinking about this for a while as well. And he is the most likeliest winner for me. It's not very original at all. I won't be having a bet in the race. I must admit, I haven't had a proper chance to look at it either. But at this stage, it's you lads know the regard I hold Chaldean. I think he is a proper horse. So yeah, it's hard to see past him for me.
Right, plenty to look forward to at the weekend then. The CORAL-ECLIPSE obviously the highlight, and then on Sunday the Prix Jean Prat in Deauville Toon. So looking forward to both those big races. Really enjoy that, chaps. Thanks very much. And please do remember to like and subscribe. It does help us out. And comment below with any thoughts you have, any thoughts on the Eclipse and how it's going to be run or who you think is going to win. We'd love to hear. And please do remember to gamble responsibly. And when the fun stops, do stop. Gambling should be fun. And just finally, hopefully next week we're going to have a special guest on the show. So please do stay tuned. It'll be a little bit earlier next week, probably around Monday or Tuesday. But make sure you look out for that. Now, though, that's it from us here on Flat Out. So see you next time.